Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar for Read Theory, readtheory.org. What? That's free? Yes, it is all free. All right, let's go over here. Oh gosh, sorry, one more thing. Share my, oh, sorry. How embarrassing. All right, I'm going to go over to my PowerPoint here and we'll take a look at Read Theory. My name is Heather Mars, and I teach at Watson Technology Center. I'm a fourth grade ELAR and social studies teacher. And driving behind the screen, we have Julie Jolly. She's a fifth grade teacher at Daugherty Elementary School. And she's waving at you. She's saying hello from behind the scenes. Just a little bit of background here behind Read Theory is it's a free online resource that when your students first log in, they are administered a short pre-test to the students, and this helps to set their reading level. And then after that, they're presented with reading exercises to help them build their skill and grow as a reader. And it works out very nicely for me because I work at a campus where we have one-to-one devices. All of our students have their own MacBook Air that they carry around with them. But don't let that dissuade you from using this software. This is definitely something that can be used on any device that can access the internet. It's not available on the app, but if iPads are what you have available, you can go to Safari or Chrome and still use it just as easily. So the ways that you can use this, you can use it in a whole class lab setting, or if you've checked out your computer card on wheels, you can use it in there with individual computers. You can also use it on your iPad or PCs in your classroom during station time. Or one way I've really found that I really like to use it is one-on-one or in a small group with my intervention group or with tutoring. Because it's definitely on their level and they can read a little and we can talk about the passage as they're going through it. And they're very short passages, but they have a lot of different skills involved in there. And this quote is from the Read Theory website. It says that Read Theory is a powerful educational tool that offers online reading activities for all ages and ability levels. It adapts to students' individual ability levels and presents them with thousands of skill building exercises that suit their needs. And some things that I like about Read Theory is that the reading exercises, they do span all the way from elementary level. In fact, in some of the examples I'll show you, there are students performing at the first grade level all the way up to ninth grade, and I've got them listed as fourth grade students. So we've got elementary level all the way up through college level passages. And, because you may have that one student that you're finding it a struggle to challenge them. And so this is a way to do that. And another thing is that Read Theory is aligned with Common Core rather than with our TEKS, and that's why it's probably not a highly popular in Texas. But if you look at the TEKS versus the Common Core, they are very similar, and I'll show you a slide on later in the software that will let you see that those are similar. But if you ever scope things out on Teachers Pay Teachers, you're like, oh, well, that's a TEK. It's also a Common Core. And in this webinar, you will learn how to use Read Theory in your classroom to be able to provide more individualized practice and instruction on different skills for your students. You'll also learn how this is a way for your students to build their reading ability, and you'll be able to track their progress through the exercises that they work through on the program. The ISTE standards, and I had to look that up. So just for your knowledge, ISTE is International Society for Technical Education. And these are standards that are set forth to let us know how, the students are learning technology wise. And here, this is the Empowered Learner standard. And students are able to articulate and set personal learning goals through this software. They're able to develop strategies leveraging technology to help achieve those goals and then reflect on the learning process to improve their learning outcomes. And then they use technology to seek feedback that informs and improves their practice and to demonstrate their learning in a variety of ways. And this Read Theory definitely allows them to be truly empowered students because they are motivated by short passages that teach a particular skill or a group of skills. They also are awarded knowledge points as they complete the program. Now, those points are not like gaming points or anything, but it levels them up. And what kid doesn't like to be leveled up throughout the process? Students can also track their own process. They can see their graphs and their charts from the beginning of the pretest all the way to their current progress. And so, with this tool, I believe students are truly empowered learners. I'm going to go ahead and move into the program or the website. So Read Theory, it's readtheory.org. And when you go in and log in to the program, well, you'll have to go in and set up an account. It's very easy to sign up and set up an account, but I've already done so. And so I just would like to take you in. This is the teacher side. We'll spend some time on the teacher side, and then I'll also let you see what the student side looks like as well. Some things that I'd like to point out to you is the tabs here at the top. You have a page that shows your students, and this is the page that we're currently on. And then there's another page that shows your classes. And so I'm going to show you how to add a homeroom, excuse me, I have the homeroom class. I'm going to show you how to add another class and put your students in. Another tab that we have at the top is written responses, and we'll move into that. And just, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped progress reports. We'll get into that also. Written responses, and then, yes, printable assessments. So I'll walk you through each of these tabs and give you a short explanation. Let's go back to my students. I currently have several students listed in my homeroom class, but today I got a new student, and I got this new student and smiled and said, I'll have to add him to Read Theory. So I'm going to go into create new student accounts and just go in and put his name. His name is Stephen Rogers. And this program automatically generates a username for him. You can always change that if you would like to. I just always let it stay the same as their, not stay the same. I always create the password that they use in school. But the password, I like to keep everybody's password the same. So in case I need to help them reset it. So just for the sake of this, I'm going to use Demo 2017. And I will finish this. And, well, let me get that to close. There we go. And you can see down here that we have Stephen Rogers added to the class. So all the other students, they're listed in my homeroom class. And then I have Stephen Rogers. He's not listed in any class. So I want to add him. I'm going to click next to his name and come back up here to the top and add him to my homeroom class. And so now I'll see that he'll show up on my reports and everything that I'm looking for homeroom. All righty, so that's how you add a student. Let's add a class to the list. I have two classes currently. I have my homeroom class, that's all of my students, my intervention group, and I've got Lex Luthor and Peter Parker in my homeroom class. And I'll show you why I've added them to the class when we look at charts. But I would like to go ahead and add a new group because I'm going to have a tutoring group that will meet with me on Tuesdays. So I'm going to call this my Tuesday tutoring. And it would help if I could spell. So I'll create the class and we'll add some students to them just a little bit later once we go into the progress monitor, the progress. So let's go up to the progress reports. This is one of the coolest things I think about the teacher side is that we can see the different progress. Excuse me, the progress for each of the different students. So in my homeroom class, I've had 12 students complete 12 quizzes, and you can click on this and I'll tell you what that's all about. They've earned 337 knowledge points. And again, that's not really a thing that academically shows, but it shows that how they're working towards that. And you can click on it and learn more about it. And at the beginning in the pretest, they started with a fourth grade level and a Lexile level of 642. And as we move through, as the students have moved through, they've progressed a little in their grade level, but gone down a little in the Lexile. So we'll look at some graphs here in just a minute to see if we can figure that out. The knowledge points, we have the first graph. You can see I only have data for a few of the students down here. Lex Luthor is not really gaining very many points, but Peter Parker has gained a lot of knowledge points. What this tells me is that Peter is getting a lot of answers correct and passing a lot of his quizzes because he's earning a lot of knowledge points. Same here with Diana Prince. She's earning a few more because she's getting more correct than Bruce Wayne or the other students. And that just is kind of just a sign that they're doing well on their quizzes. Down here, this next graph is the quizzes taken graph. And we see as you scroll over it, it gives individualized information for each of the students. The kind of this lime green here lets us know up at the top, you can see it lets us know at the pretest level. So all of the quizzes that Lex Luthor has taken, it looks like he's had 3, have been at the pretest level. So he has not made any gains since he took the pretest. Peter Parker, however, has 2 different colors, and that shows that his first 2 quizzes were on his pretest level. And we'll see that level here in just a minute. But this teal color lets us know that he's now moved above that pretest level. And so he's made some gains. So one of his quizzes was above that level. And here with Diana Prince, she's in the same boat as Lex Luthor. Even though she's had more quizzes, they're all still at the same pretest level. So she's not made a lot of growth there just yet. And then Bruce Wayne, similar situation to Peter Parker. And then scrolling down, we have another graph that is very helpful. This is actually one of my favorite ones to use. Again, as you scroll over, we see a rhombus here. And you may be familiar with seeing that rhombus on some of the map data that we look at. This lets us know that the rhombus is where the students scored at the pretest. After the pretest, Lex Luthor started at the first grade level. Poor Lex, he needs to come to tutoring or something. Peter Parker was kind of low too. But look at Diana Prince. Wow, she's at the 9th grade level. And then Bruce Wayne is down here, just right, pretty well average grade level. The thing that is interesting to me is that Lex Luthor started at the first grade level and he is still in the first grade level. Peter Parker started at the first grade level, but look where it says up here his program average is 1.75. So he's making some growth, and that's what we want to see. Diana, even though she's very high, she hasn't made growth because she's still answering questions and reading passages at the 9th grade level. Now she's only taken 4 quizzes, so she's got some time to work on that. And Bruce Wayne right here seems to have made the most growth with starting at 5th grade, moving to 6th. Something to look for is the rhombus. The more space you have above the rhombus shows the more growth that they've had since the beginning of the pretest. And then that goes on down here with the Lexile level as well. The rhombus should definitely be kind of like Peter Parker's here. You want the rhombus right there, kind of in the center where there's growth above it. That shows that they're making progress over time when they're taking the test. And this lets you know the Lexile level that they're performing at. All right, so those are the progress reports that you can look up and find out about your student. And the exciting thing is this is also on the student side. I'll show you in just a couple of minutes. I won't go into quite as much detail, but I want you to be able to see that the students do have access to that and they can see their progress as well. The next tab at the top is the written responses tab. And when you go in and set up your program, your classes, the tab will be automatically defaulted to off. And you're going to want, well, I say you're going to want to turn it on, but I'm a 4th grade writing teacher. But I like to leave it turned on because it gives the students one response per activity. So when they're in the middle of an activity, usually the last question is a response question. So let's go down and look at the teacher point. Right now, I just have one unscored written response from Diana Prince. And so I can click on this and it will give me all of the information. It lets me know when she wrote the question and the level at which she is responding to. Plus, it gives me a standard, the standard that I should be looking for. And here's a little bit where you can see, when you click on that, you can see how the Common Core, you can see how the Common Core standards line up with standards that we teach with our TEKS: informative and explanatory text, using a topic sentence, well chosen relevant details, and so on down. This is all very relevant and appropriate for TEKS as well. Of course, this is a ninth grade level. I can also view the passage at a click of a button. This is what Diana read as her background information in order to write her response. Now, I know we probably don't have time to read every single one, but we can kind of glance at it and see what it is that she's being asked to write about. So here's her question. Here's her response. It looks like, just at first glance that she's given quite a bit of information to respond to that question. And then, pardon me, and then you can click on the rubric. She also has this rubric available to her when she is responding to her question. Now, whether or not she'll actually click on it, I don't really know. But here's her question and response again. And then you can go through the rubric and just basically click, read, and of course, click where you think that student is performing within the written response. I'm just going to click summed for the sake of time so that we can see what it looks like when she is finished grading. I can give comments down here if I have anything to say to Diana, like great job or anything like that. And then I'll score and return to the student. And so now you'll see that you have no more to score. This might seem tedious or like a long process to you, but if you're like we're right now starting Unit 3, and that's the nonfiction reading and the nonfiction or the expository writing, this might be a great way to get your students to be able to respond to you. And then one last tab to show you up here at the top is the printable assessments. I actually just discovered this while preparing for the webinar. I had kind of ignored it. I guess I saw print and thought it meant I was going to print results. You can click here, and once a month, there's a free assessment that you can click on for your students should you want to have a printable assessment. So I'll go ahead and click on the grade 4. This is the free assessment. And graphics, pictures, questions, the students would be doing online, plus the written response. But if you wanted to have that tangible in hand, something to send home, then that's acceptable. If you go and click on the browse full inventory, you can see everything that they have available. They do charge, they're about 99 cents a piece. That's kind of an average price if you want to get something at that from the full inventory. But once a month they do update the free ones, and so you can choose a different free one once a month. So yes, this is fully free as long as you just want a printable once a month. Alrighty, so that's the teacher side. Let me log out of here and log in to one of the student accounts so that you can see what it looks like from a student angle. All right, I'm going to log into Diana since we just finished grading her written response. So you can, it would help if I could spell correctly. Sorry about that. As soon as Diana logs in, she sees, yeah, I have a written response that has been scored. So you can click on OK, got it. And if Diana's anxious to see what that is, then she'll go up to the My Writing tab, and she can see that she earned 15 out of 25 points for her written response. And she can click on it and see my comments as well. So she'll see the score that she got and any comments that I left for her. So that's kind of a neat feature, I think, so that it's, similar to using Google Classroom with a little feedback there, but through this program. All right, let's start back up here at the top. If Diana is ready to see the next quiz, then it's right there. You know what, before we move on, let me go and show you what the students see when they first, to the slideshow, what the students see when they first come into the program, so I don't lose you here. So the students will start out by seeing a pretest, and this is just the beginning of pretest, a sample of the question, and a few things that I wanted to point out and highlight for you. On this slide, I just wanted to point out the complexity of the questions. Now, not all of them are like this. This one is a little complex with the different choices at the top. Kind of reminds me when I was taking my Texas test, you know, all the this, ands, and buts and everything. And another feature that I like here, and this is not just on the pretest, this is on all the text. You can click on the highlight text button and it'll highlight clues or text evidence to help the student find their correct answer if they're struggling with that. It doesn't give them the answer, but it lets them know what text evidence is helpful for that. Once they've finished with their quiz, the pretest is like 7 to 8 questions, and it'll let them know that they're ready to enter the program. And here's what it looks like. I didn't put the whole passage up, but I wanted you to see what it looks like for your students. When they get a correct answer, that's correct. You've earned 1 knowledge point. It lets them know that. But what I really like over here is the incorrect answer. So you've chosen A, or I've chosen A, but D is the correct answer, and it lets you know that this, oh, sorry about that. It lets you know why that is the correct answer. So there's the explanation. And I know that's going to be tricky for some students to want to go in and read all the time. And that's one reason why I said I like to use this with my intervention group and my tutoring group, is because we can stop and we can talk about the explanation and we can see, you know, what it is what they need to look for for that answer. And then here's what the written response looks like for your student. This is on the first grade level. This is in, I believe, Peter Parker's account when I took this picture. So here's his passage, and here's the question that he had. And if this were live, you could click on the Common Core requirements, and Peter could see what he would need to include in his response. When a student passes a quiz, they get a passing score, they get to move on. It lets them know how many knowledge points they've earned. And then over here, this is an example of, I'm sorry, you did not pass this quiz. And what I wanted to point out to you is that they may see this quiz again in the future. So to give them a second opportunity. So it lets the students know ahead of time. And then this lets them know how many knowledge points that they have earned for that quiz as well. Some more examples of the passages that your students will see as they're moving through. This is on the first grade level. Very short and succinct, but uh, the student is working at their level. There's another example. All righty, now we'll go back into the student side. Just didn't want to confuse anybody. So here is Diana Prince's next passage. She's at the 9th grade level, so remember, so her passage is a little longer. And then her questions. We're not going to work through the questions, but that's what it looks like if she's going through. And then her progress, she can click on the progress. She can see her progress level. This lets her know she's been a luminary and an orienteer, and now she is working towards, she's achieved whatever that is. I don't even know how to say it. And then she's trying to move up to the next level. So that's what the knowledge points gain. Here's the number that she's gotten in her progress level. Just lets her know basic information that the teacher has had. And I think these are a powerful tool to sit down and talk to your students about, conferencing with them every now and then to let them see, look, Diana, you are at the 9th grade level, but you've kind of flatlined over the course of the program. Or to let her see in the Lexile level, it's going to go up and down depending on the content that they're reading. I mean, that's just what happens to kids. If I'm not interested in that, I'm not going to do as well. And then here's the Common Core standards. And if you click on this Learn More, that's where you can see the standards and how they will possibly align with our TEKS, or how they do align with our TEKS in certain ways. So that's what I wanted to point out to you. That's where you can see how these key ideas and details, integration of knowledge and craft and structure, how they line up with what we teach as far as TEKS are concerned. And this lets Diana know her quiz history. She can click on these to refresh her memory of these at any time and how she did on those. I don't know what kid would do it, but it's there and available for her. And then, as we already pointed out, the written responses. And then if she belongs to any other teacher's class, she can click on that and find that information as well. All righty, I kind of feel like I'm blowing through this really quickly, but it's kind of something that's familiar to me. But I do want to let you know that if you have any questions or No, I've seen a question. It is not available in Spanish to my knowledge. Sadly, I think that would be a very powerful tool, but right now it is only in English. But I was reading on the frequently asked questions page, and they are constantly making changes. So maybe that will be one of the changes that will be coming soon. Thanks for that question. But if you have any other questions, then feel free to respond. I'll let Julie monitor that for us for just a couple of minutes. And otherwise, I'll give you a couple of minutes to take this information down. I'd be glad to help you with any questions that you have about read theory. And hang tight for just a few more minutes, and we'll have the code for your staff development credit. Okie doke. Well, thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate your time. I hope that you enjoy using this resource. And remember, it can be used in any internet capable device. And since we don't have any more questions or any questions, I'll let Julie go ahead and put the the link for credit up. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening.